by myself and Madeline Zielinski, who's the other voice you're hearing on the other side.
Awesome.
We wanted to go ahead and get started by letting you know what we'll cover. Today we're going to cover pretty much we're going to do an overview of the Dare to Dream grant. We're going to cover what the application looks like and what awards will look like. We'll give you a few examples of some past projects, and we'll discuss expectations around coaching, support, webinars, evaluation, reporting, and all that good stuff. At the end, we'll make sure that we have some time to develop next steps, as well as go over questions and answers. First, we want to welcome you all again and figure out who's in the room. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and just telling us your name, your location, and organization, if you're attached to one. And then what sort of issues are happening in your community in which you think Dare to Dream could help you raise awareness around? Is there anyone that would like to go first?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Oh, well, hey, it's Tiana. I'm from Youth Move Detroit, as well as Youth United within Wayne County in Michigan. It's a lot of things happening in our community. I know a lot of different things when I speak to my Youth Move Detroit chapter. We talk a lot about like bullying, and we talk a lot about like homeless youth and different things like that. So as it relates to issues, I know we were really kind of hounding on like, what can we do for like our homeless youth population? And how could the grant kind of help us raise awareness towards that? Yeah, did I answer all the questions? I think so.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Sorry. My name is Artie Riley. I'm in Indiana, and my organization is Youth Move Southeast. And the issues that are showing up in our community is a lot of drugs and bullying throughout the schools. That's something I'd like to work on eliminating or trying to eliminate. I know it's not can never be fully gone, but I mean, it's always worth a shot. And then, yeah, for the mental illness aspect, I would just like to see people understand that it's not like contagious, because there is some people around here that feel it's contagious in a way. And then the mental illness, they people look at you like you're not very bright, or you know, they just have a lot of stigma behind it.
Great, thank you so much for sharing, Artie.
Yeah.
So feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type in the chat box as well.
Ms. Tiana again. I had one other thing that we've really been kind of talking about, and this as it relates to like doing community engagement, really getting youth involved and empower them more. However, like suicide and like school violence has also been like a major kind of discussion within the community. So I think that's like a really good, you know, kind of issue to kind of look into as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And there have been several Dare to Dream projects in the past that do look at suicide alertness and awareness. So that's a great topic. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes. Is there anyone else who would like to introduce themselves at this time?
I'm happy to. Oops, go ahead.
Okay. So my name's Ellie, and I'm a part of Youth United for Responsible Media Representation. And so basically, we are working in collaboration with Stanford Center for Youth Mental Health. So we're in Palo Alto, California. And so a lot of us have had personal experience with suicide loss and like know firsthand how like media coverage of such like of these kinds of stuff like can complicate like the healing process, and how often like suicide is like sensationalized and misrepresented in the media. So basically, yeah, we're working to destigmatize and also, yeah, just spread awareness.
Thank you.
Great. So I'm Amy Engelman, and I am with Children's Hospital in Colorado, and I'm representing the Youth Mental Health Action Board. And this year we are embarking on a youth participatory action research project to look at the supports and barriers to young people and families accessing mental health supports. And like some of the other folks have already said, some of the issues that are already coming up before we're really digging into the community-based research project is really around the intersection of school violence and mental health, and just the stress and the stigma and the lack of conversation and supports around the stress that young people are feeling just walking in the building. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Was there any-
I guess.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
My name is, no, you're perfectly fine. My name is Crystal Hutchins, and I am with Tennessee Voices for Children. We are in Tennessee. We're located in Goodlettsville. I work under the Healthy Transitions Grant. So I think the biggest problem with that we're kind of having in our community is kind of getting the young adults to actually take part in it. They understand it and they realize the stigma behind mental health. It's hard to kind of engage them in those mental health awareness activities.
I understand. Thank you.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, just making sure. I was having some issues with the audio. So my name is Jonathan Mobley. I'm the youth coordinator and for Youth Move in Massachusetts, and we are the Worcester chapter. We're located in central Massachusetts, and one of the things that our city is really dealing with here, homelessness is a huge issue. Homelessness, also the drug opioid epidemic is really hitting our city pretty hard. I think this could definitely help raise awareness. We also have a pretty big issue with school suspension, which everyone knows could lead to a lot of other issues, which kind of goes with the violence and also hand in hand with the drug use, which is getting ridiculously out of hand within the city. And those are some things that we're struggling with, and I think that Dare to Dream Project could definitely help raise awareness with those issues, which I think right now those are probably the key issues we're dealing with over here in the Worcester area.
Thank you. I heard some clicks on the line. Is there anyone else who would like to introduce themselves? Tell us the location you're calling from and what organization you're connected to, and then what sort of issues are happening in your community and which you think Dare to Dream Project could help raise awareness around.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Cache. My pronouns are they, them, there. I'm actually, I really don't want to say where I am because I feel really bad. I'm in the wonderful state of Hawaii, and I know everyone else is potentially suffering or dealing with the snow, however your perspective is. So, and it's beautiful and sunny and bright here as well. But I am I'm tuning in as a representative of a couple of different organizations and projects. So I'm a youth partner supervisor for an organization called Epic Ohana, in which we're partnering with our child and adolescent mental health division to provide youth peer supporters to youth receiving services through that department. And then I also started and run a youth action plan group called Youth Talk Back. So a lot of the issues that dealing with are across the spectrum. So behavioral mental health in general, dealing with issues with the Department of Education, having civil rights violated. We have an extraordinarily high rate of houselessness, an extraordinarily high rate of suicide amongst young people. Transition age youth are suffering. We also have a lot of issues where our state is not allowed to house unaccompanied minors, so that creates a lot of difficulties, obviously. So there's a lot of a broad spectrum across the board, and particularly in my youth talkback group, they are doing action plans themselves for their communities. And so I wanted to tune in today to see how this would best help some of them. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Was there anyone else who joined us who would like to introduce themselves? And feel free to go ahead and introduce yourself and answer these questions in the chat box as well.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Tywana Bailey, and my organization is Hype You Foundation. And let me see, what sort of issues are happening in your community? Definitely education is a big piece in our community that we're seeing, in suicide amongst younger people are some of the bigger issues, and drug use are some of the bigger issues that we're seeing in our communities.
Thank you. Was there anyone else who would like to introduce themselves at this time? All right. Again, feel free to use the chat box as needed throughout our presentation. We wanted to go ahead and let you know a little bit about who we were. Again, I'm Jasmine Boatwright. I'm the youth program coordinator for Youth Move National. I started in this work as young as 13, just kind of starting off as an advocate. I began noticing the limited power that youth and young adults had in their own services, and really wanted to do something around that, as I had several family members who received mental health services, and I didn't really love their treatment. I started as a youth advocate. I moved through to being the coordinator for Youth United in Detroit, who's on the call. Hi, Tiana. And then I also was the director of Youth Move Michigan until I came to Youth Move National in June of this year. Our other presenter is Madeline Zielinski, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Jasmine. Hi, everybody. My name is Madeline, and I am a youth program specialist here at Youth Move National, calling today from Indiana, where I spent 3 years as the state coordinator for Youth Move Indiana, which is a Systems of Care grant. I joined Youth Move National just over a year ago, and I'm really excited. This is the second year that I'm going to have been helping with the Dare to Dream grant. Last year was really fun. We got to see a lot of amazing projects through. So I'm just so excited about this year and to see everybody's great ideas. So to just tell a little bit about what is Dare to Dream before we dive into the logistics of it. Dare to Dream it's a program that we modeled off of a program in Ontario, Canada. So you might hear it called Dare to Dream America, and this is why we have that on there instead of Dare to Dream Canada, right? So, so this is a mini grant that we give to groups that to do projects which focus on education, stigma reduction, helping to build leadership skills in their community, as well as increasing access to resources and things like anti-bullying awareness. Some of our past projects include art, poetry, music, dance, but we also encourage people to have new ideas, policy ideas, innovative projects are some of the things that we're looking for. Again, feel free to add any questions, comments, or thoughts that you have in our chat box as we're going along. Jasmine and I will help each other by sort of reading out what people put in the chat box for us. So there are two different levels of awards. There is a $2,500 award as well as a $1,250 award. As you can see, we sort of break it down into how many different awards we have. There's also instances where someone might apply for a $2,500 award and it might be granted the $1,250 amount. So real quick, we're going to go through the application together. I'm going to do my best to share it on my screen. You guys are going to have to tell me if it comes up or not. So one of our requirements is that this project must be youth-driven, which means 13 to 25. And as you can see, the applications are due December 15th, which is just over 2 weeks from now. So can you all see the website on my screen, the Youth Move National website?
Yes.
You can't see it? Okay, good. Awesome. So this is youthmovenational.org/daretodream. This is where you'll be able to find the application. It has all the dates on here. So if you can also take a look and get some inspiration. If you scroll down, you can see the 2016 projects. So these are some of the projects that have been done in the past. If you want to go through and maybe get some ideas, this is also groups that you would be able to contact and say, hey, we saw you did this, and get some peer support in that way.
Hey, Madeline. I can't see.
Yeah.
I can't see the, like, I don't know. Maybe I can't see you clicking on the, like, we can still see the link, but I can't see. It's still kind of like on a PowerPoint.
Thank you for letting me know. I'm going to go ahead and share my full screen.
Thank you.
Okay, can you all see now?
Yep.
Can you guys hear me? I'm trying to see if my phone is on mute. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Hey.
Uh-oh, I need to put it on mute.
So here, if you're just now being able to see, this is the Dare to Dream website, portion of youthmovenational.org. And then down here, if you'll scroll down, these are the past awards. Feel free to take a look at those. Sometimes that can be helpful to get ideas. RD has a question for us in here. It says, do you have to choose which award you want? If so, what happens if we don't qualify for the $2,500 award? Would we still be able to have a shot at the $1,250 award? So RD, that is a great question. So you will choose which award you'll be applying for. You'll also have a breakdown in the budget, which we'll go over that in just a moment. There are instances where if the project might be able to be done for the smaller amount, that an organization would be awarded that other amount. So you are correct. All right, thank you, RD. That's a great question. So, if you'll go to the website and click this download the application button, and it'll come up over here. This is the application, and it's broken down into a few different. Oh, look, RD has this printed out. Nice work, RD. Thank you. And sometimes it does help to print it out and look at it on paper. I am a paper kind of person. It helps me to have something to hold in my hand. So this will give you some information. You can read over and educate yourself about what are the requirements, which are basically that it's youth run and that it brings mental health awareness to your community. It has some thought work in here for you. And then this begins the applicant section. One thing to note that's important about this application is that it must be written by the young adults who are driving the project. There is a supportive adult section, and we'll get there in a moment, but the rest of the application must be filled out by young adults who are working on the project. If the review committee is looking at an application and it's very obviously filled out by only the supportive adult, the application will not be accepted, or it will be sent back and asked for an update with the youth voice. So here, you'll see here, these are just some definitions of the words that we're going to be using. when we talk about these different things. We go into the budget, which you will be submitting a budget to us where you break down what all the money is going to be spent on. Please make the budget as realistic as possible. We have a note here that says, if your budget for certain items seems to be too high, it may affect your application success. One thing that I think is important to think about when you're putting together your budget is what do we already have access to in our community that we can write in here to say, these are supports that we do have, this is stuff we won't necessarily need budgeting for. The resourcefulness helps the committee sort of see that the dedication you have to the project. RD says, is there a Word document that is also required? So you'll see that as we scroll down a little bit, there are some answers that you'll be filling in. So a lot of the section is just description of these different sections. So we'll scroll down here and look at the actual application. So this is the first section where you'll actually be filling it out. This is the basic information. What sort of award level do you want? And then the basic information for your organization. Here, so we get a lot of questions about this section about, are you part of any of the following communities? If you see your community there, please let us know. If you have no clue what this is talking about, then it doesn't apply to you. Just ignore it, and you can move on with the application. So this will ask you some information about your organization, and then here under section B is where we actually go into the project. So this is where you'll put your project idea. Again, it's important that this part is filled out by the young adults that are leading the project. You will describe the project, who it's going to impact, how it's going to impact them, what are the dates, what are your goals, and sort of to help the committee understand, like, what is the project you're wanting to bring to your community. So then here you'll see is the action plan, and this sort of helps to guide your group into the different steps of completing the project. So we have a question in the chat box from Taiwana. They say, I'm sorry I missed the answer to the question, can we apply for both grants or just one? You can I'm trying to think how to answer this. If it's just one project, if you apply, you can apply for the $2,500 grant and be approved for that one. You can apply for the $2,500 grant, and if the committee thinks that this project could be done with a smaller amount, you could be awarded that amount. Alice, does that make sense?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. So, okay, great. Thank you. I'm glad that that makes sense to you, Taiwan. And feel free to ask more clarifying questions. All right. So, so one of the things that I love about the Dare to Dream grant is that it's a very, breaks it down to step-by-step, sort of like grant managing 101. So, so this action plan sort of helps to break down that planning into things that are a little bit more manageable. So the planning stage, the setup stage, and the action and follow-up stage. So, so you'll put what are the steps here, what is the timeline over here, and it sort of gives a more complete picture of what the project is. On the next page is the budget form. We go ahead and give you a form. You don't have to create this yourself. You don't have to go online and find a template. We have it right here for you. So you work with your team to break this down, and that's how we'll know how you're spending the money. Then the next section is project evaluation, just asking about how you're going to know that it was a success. And then the next portion is the supportive adult section. So this is the portion that the supportive adult will be filling out. The rest is for the young adults leading the project. And then I think there's one thing that we added from last year, and it's what will happen if you need a replacement. So this last question, do you have a transition plan in place in case you're no longer able to support the Dare to Dream project? So this is just sort of like, if for some reason you're not able to complete the project, is there somebody at the organization who can step up and help to support the young adults to get it through? We have another question in the chat box. Can we submit more than one application with separate project ideas? Excellent question. Alice, do you have any opinion on that?
I think if you have separate project ideas, you should definitely, you can definitely submit more than one application. Your group will only receive one award. We're not going to give the same group multiple awards for different projects, just to be a little more fair. But if you have a lot of really good ideas, we don't want to stifle you, and you're welcome to submit more than one entry.
Okay. Is that clear, Tiana?
Yeah, thank you.
So you can, awesome. Yeah. So Alice was saying you can submit multiple ideas, but you'll only receive one award per group.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So then we sign here at the bottom and you're good to go. So that, congratulations, we made it through the application. Does anyone have questions about the application at this point? Other than these amazing questions that y'all have been submitting as we go on. Awesome. Well, feel free to keep adding these in the chat box. You guys are rocking that chat box, so I really appreciate it.
I agree. Thanks, Maddie. We've been talking a little bit about supportive adults, and so we wanted to make sure that we dive a little bit more into that. Pretty much, there should be a supportive adult attached to each project. The supportive adult, what we really expect is for them to attend the coaching calls and webinars, and we'll get more into how many that is in the next couple of slides. It's important for the supportive adult to really assist when it comes to budget support. And when we say budget support, that doesn't mean that a supportive adult needs to create the budget for the project, but there is some benefit into having an adult that it helps if a young person has never created a budget before for a project. A supportive adult, I would assume, would help make sure that all of the things that are needed to be listed on the budget is on the budget. And is, again, like I said, just teaching young people how to create a budget for a grant. The biggest part of, one of the coolest things that I feel about the Dare to Dream grant is that it gives young people experience in grant writing and doing the different steps of a grant that we normally wouldn't necessarily have. A supportive adult would assist the Dare to Dream team with writing the final report. So again, that is not a supportive adult taking over and writing the final report for the team. That is a supportive adult maybe doing reminders that the final report is due, assisting with grammar checks and different things like that, and one just kind of making sure it's done. Another thing that we expect a supportive adult to do if you're attached to an agency is to have an executive officer or administrator sign off on the accounting summary. That accounting summary must be signed off on and submitted with the final report. Are there any questions so far? Okay, let me check the chat box. Making your supportive adult your treasurer is okay, but you just want to make sure that.
I'm on a conference.
Uh-oh.
No, you can close it.
Can you guys make sure that if you're talking in your backgrounds that you're on mute? We hear a little bit of feedback from a couple of individuals. Thanks so much. That helps so much. Okay. We'll go ahead and move forward with the next slide, which really helps us talk about projects. Uh-oh, did I freeze? Oh, there we are. Okay. Thank you, Maddie. Again, the biggest thing about this grant is to make sure that this grant, the projects developed in this grant are developed and run by youth. The project must focus on young adult mental health in America, which we've talked about before. So that could be whether it's stigma reduction, leadership, whatever it is, making sure that it impacts young adult mental health in America. Projects, we want them to be innovative, think outside the box, do things that you may not have heard of before. If it's something that you have heard before, of a project that you have done before, and you feel that there is a value of doing it again, definitely do not stray away from submitting that project as well. We want to make sure that projects demonstrate reach. So how many people will you really impact with your project? Where would it be? Would it be in a school? Will it be in a youth agency or organization? Is it a community project? Who is your target audience? And then we also want to make sure that your project demonstrates impact, which is who will this really affect? Will it affect the knowledge and beliefs or attitudes or behaviors that are already existing? Are there any questions? All right, hearing none.
Okay, so we saw some of last year's projects. You can also follow this link to check out more. And then Jasmine, have we talked about things to consider?
I don't think so. I think we might have skipped over that.
Okay, so some things to consider. We talked a little bit about budget. Jasmine just spoke with us about how supportive adults can be helpful in that. Another thing to consider is timelines and deadlines. It can be really helpful to make sure that everyone has deadlines marked on their calendars, whether you use a task assignment or you use Google Calendars. Here at Youth Move National, we like to use a program called Asana, and it really helps us manage our tasks and manage our projects and stay on track. It can also really help young adults be able to manage those projects if they know when those deadlines are and have that clear communication. So that can make a big difference with driving the project.
And keep in mind that there are other things that you may be working on already, whether this is something that you will add to your plate within your organization. You may already have different work plans or different things that you're already doing. So keep in mind how much time this new project will take away from, what other things that you have going on, and make sure that you carve in enough time to really support your new project.
Correct, and that is the perfect segue into our next one, which is having backup support. So not only realizing how much time this is going to take, but being realistic about how much you can take on yourself, and making sure that no matter what, you have like a buddy or have somebody else on your team who can help you, whether it's somebody to help support you with a project or somebody to be your accountability buddy. It can make a big difference.
And it also helps when if you have individuals that maybe take different roles. We know as youth advocates and youth leaders, other things may come up. We may take different jobs, and having backup support identified that may be able to help assist with this project should someone leave is definitely helpful.
Correct, yes. So RD put, Alice, they were looking for Asana. I got the task manager. I put it in privately. I'm still talking to Jasmine. So yes, Asana is the name of the task manager that we use. It's ASANA. Thank you, Alice, has put it in the chat box for us. And it really is a dream. We love it here at Youth Move. We use it every day to help. It helps us set goals. You can look at it. There's lots of different visual settings, which helps me. I'm a visual person. So definitely would recommend. And it's free. Alice is saying yes, it is free as well. So RD had a question for us in the chat box. He says, I noticed that it mentions just mental health awareness. Is there any other things we can support with the award? Excellent question. So the award will be focusing on mental health issues, but this can also include addiction issues, foster care issues, homelessness, bullying, suicide prevention. So there's a lot of different things that we can look at. Even leadership, those things can be, leadership and life skills can all contribute to mental health. So, so as long as it falls under sort of the mental health for young adults in your communities, that's really what we're looking for. So not so much things like animals' rights or something like that. So good question. Thank you, RD. Then evaluation, this is something that we're going to support you with. Youth Move National is going to help support how to evaluate your event. It is something to keep in mind, whether you're going to do paper surveys, whether you're going to send people a follow-up email. Evaluation can take a lot of different forms. And we also are going to have webinars that talk about evaluation. And we're going to have your back for creating your own form of evaluation. But you want to remember that that is something to keep in mind. Another thing that a lot of groups don't consider but can really increase your reach is promotion. How are you going to promote your event? Who are you going to promote it to? How consistently are you going to be reminding people that it's coming up, and then thanking people for attending and things like that?
And even considering how you were planning to utilize social media to spread the word is something that you may want to look at.
Absolutely. So these are all things that your group can take into consideration that can be really important building blocks for having a successful event.
So here's the fun part. Now we're going to talk about the money stuff. If your project is selected, we're going to go back to the money awards, or did we miss one? There we go. If your project is selected, you would receive your award in two parts. You will receive 80% of your award in January after your project is selected. And then you will receive the remainder of the award in April after you participated in the required webinars and coaching calls. Just to help ensure that, you know, all of the support that you need is there and your project is up and ready to go. All projects must be completed by June 28th, and all reporting and evaluation is due to Youth Move National by July 31st. Are there any questions around money stuff before we move forward?
RD says, do you guys know if this is an annual grant? If so, I will try to apply every year possible. So RD, we did have this last year. We've had it ongoing for several years, and we would like to keep it going annually as long as we're able to have the funding for it. We're going to do it as often as possible. So thanks for asking.
Thanks, RD. If awarded, we want to make sure that you have all of the support from Youth Move National as possible. So there is three coaching calls with Youth Move National staff. So that could be myself or Maddie that you're working with. But just to make sure that you have all the support you need, if there's any barriers or anything that comes up, you are able to work with someone to barrier bust. Maddie, would you mind going to the next slide?
We have a question from someone in the chat box wanting to talk a little bit more about the due date.
Okay, let's see. Okay,
and
yeah.
they're also asking, will we get these slides? The slides and the recording will be sent out. So thank you very much for asking.
Thanks,
okay,
Alice.
and so thank you so much.
Thank you. Again, if you're participating and you are selected, you are asked to participate in 3 coaching calls with Youth Move National staff. So that would most likely be myself or Maddie. The 4 webinars that I believe we mentioned earlier. The webinars will be presented throughout the project, so you won't have to participate in 7 meetings in 1 month. But the webinar topics are tracking, there is an initial webinar, and then the webinar topics are tracking and reporting requirements, a mid-process check-in, and then a final webinar to really highlight and support the success of your projects. We want to make sure that all applicants agree to having their project reports and pictures shared on the Youth Move National websites and different reporting platforms. And we use those pictures and reports to really highlight the great work that you guys are doing to help secure funding for future years. And to really make sure that, you know, the great stuff that young people are doing within different communities are highlighted nationally. A final report and accounting summary will be due as well. That is one of the things that are due. I do believe that due date was July 31st. So again, final reports and accounting summaries are due July 31st.
Hey, Jasmine, I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
So if we have a youth that was to fill out the application, would they be the only person who is responsible for attending these webinars, or could they have someone kind of step in on their behalf,
No.
just to kind of attend the, you know, and report back out?
Okay, so I wouldn't suggest you have one youth fill out the application, and I know you wouldn't. But, you know, this is something that should be approached as a team because it's a lot of different moving pieces. So definitely make sure that anyone who's a part of your Dare to Dream planning team could be a part of these webinars and coaching calls. And we would like as many people that are a part of your team to be a part of those webinars and coaching calls, just to make sure that everyone is on the same page, everyone gets the same information, and everyone has the same opportunities to vary or bust or get the additional support needed.
So would you like one name? I mean, you know, would you guys like one name on the application, or like, you know, multiple as like a, you know, just asking for clarification purposes? As it relates to like filling out the application, would it be like multiple names on there, or just like one person kind of spearheading, like, you know, kind of filling out the application with their supportive adult?
I believe that there will be a main contact. But Maddie, do you have any thoughts around this? Because I wasn't here last year.
I think that it's helpful to have more than one person on there, but it's not necessary.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So a little more on evaluation and reporting. Teams are asked to describe how they feel. They will evaluate their project. So how will you know that your project is successful? What impact will it make in your community? Did the project promote mental health among your peers or your community? How many people did it reach, and how did you track that information is really important. So I suggest using sign-in sheets or some type of RSVP system to kind of gauge how many people you have attending or participating in your events. Types of evaluations can include surveys, feedback forms, survey apps like SurveyMonkey, or websites, and follow-up emails. Youth Move National will provide teams a final report format to be completed and sent in by July 31st.
Cool. So, so feel free to keep the questions coming in the chat box. We are going to wrap up today by talking about some next steps and then opening the floor back up for questions. So the first next step would be to ask yourself, does my project meet the criteria? If you have more questions about what is that criteria, feel free to check out the application, which is on our website at youthmovnational.org/dare-to-dream. It helps to sit there and go through, make sure that it checks all those boxes. Also asking, are you able to commit in attending the webinars and coaching calls? Remember that you will have support of other people, so if you can't be there, maybe someone else can. Identifying a supportive adult who's going to help your group, and then finally completing the application form. So it's pretty simple. Once those applications are submitted, what happens next is that it goes to a group that will do a review. We call it our review committee. And they will, sometimes they'll contact the groups that have applied to ask them some more questions, clarifying questions about the application, or to get some more information. And then the awards are announced soon thereafter. And we'll have a sort of intro webinar at that point. So everyone who has received an award to kick it off and get it started. So Jasmine has very graciously dropped the link there in the chat box. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, you're welcome to.
And
again, we are always here to support you. Feel free to reach out to us individually on the website, or there's this Dare to Dream at Youth Move National, and those emails will go directly to myself. Jasmine, did you have anything that you'd like to add before we go on to the frequently asked questions?
Just that we are here to help. We are here, like I said before, to provide coaching. If you have any questions, need any assistance, or need help on evaluation or reporting, please do not hesitate to reach out to one of us, and we will definitely be here to assist you.
So some frequently asked questions that we have, and feel free to put your own into the chat box for us. You guys have been awesome with asking questions so far. Do we have to apply with a group or a team? So this is not required, but it is recommended that you have a small group of other youth, and having a supportive adult, it's definitely a big help. We did have a team last year that was just one supportive adult and one young adult who created a sort of mental health room in their high school. And that was a very successful project that was led by just one young adult. So there are occasions that it's possible. Someone else from my Youth Move chapter is applying. Can we both win an award? So we have a similar question earlier that Alice helped us answer. So only one chapter, or only one award will go to the chapter, but you can have multiple submissions. And our last question we have listed here is, when will awards be announced? These are announced in early January, and the funds are first distributed in the beginning of February. So feel free to add any questions that you all have to our chat box here. You guys have been doing a great job of sharing those, and we also welcome you to contact us after this with other questions that you might have that come to your mind. Alice told us earlier that we will be sending out these slides as well. So does anyone have any questions for us before we sign off for the day? Feel free to unmute yourself or use the chat box.
I don't have any questions at the moment. It's pretty informative.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Tawana is asking in the chat box, what is Asana? So Asana is a task management tool. It's a website, and you can go on there and break down your task break down your project into smaller tasks. You can then assign those tasks to certain people. You can put deadlines on them, due dates. You can comment in there, put descriptions. And it's a task management tool that we use here at Youth Move National. it came up earlier when we were talking about how to manage deadlines. So, so we love it here at National. Definitely would recommend it to people, even if not for this Dare to Dream grant, even just for your organization. It really helps us here at National stay on track. Yes, and it's free. Absolutely, definitely worth a try. It's really, really nice. It's visually really simple, and you get to organize it very customizable. So we would definitely recommend it. Any other questions for us today? Okay, well, we're wrapping up just a little bit early today, which is awesome. We are always here for you. Please feel free to hit us up on youthmovenational.org. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Oh, and don't forget, it's Giving Tuesday. So if you're able to give us a donation, that would be awesome. And if not, please share our Giving Tuesday post on your social, and it'll really help us out. So thank you everyone so much for joining. Please get those applications in, and we will see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone. Have a great week.